Hello guys, this is a model RR3102 here, back in the layout. Today I'm going to be reviewing the newest run of the ScaleTrains SD40-3 series. This one is the CSX SpongeBob Square Cab rebuilt, the SD40-3. This time with the CSX boxcar logo, number 4049. You can get these SD40-2s or -3 rebuild versions in either DCC Ready or DC, and they sell at $149.99 through ScaleTrains.com direct or through your select retailers, or with the ESU Loksound V5 decoder, which is the new ESU sound decoder that they announced in 2019. And this is the first SD40-2 run with the new V5 decoder. So let's start with the unboxing of this locomotive. So here is the front of the box of the ScaleTrains SD40-3 rebuild. As you noticed on my last review with the -9, they did change the looks of this box, where they have all these different models that they've announced in the past, like the SD40-2s, the C39-8, the SD40-T-2 tunnel motor, along with the big blow turbine, and so much more. So as with more recent ScaleTrains announcements, they put these little stickers, they're factory sealed stickers, on each end of the box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them open. This is the part that's more tricky for me to do on camera. Okay, I got that end. And they also have it on this end. And I believe I got that. So now we're opening up the box. And sometimes this box is a little tricky to open up. So in here we have a nice big operator's manual for the SD40-2s. This page covers lubrication, handling of the locomotive, disassembly, cleaning it, and then just the basics of the DCC instructions. Then if you flip this, in the middle of this operator's manual, we got some of the functions and information about the ESU decoder. Something to note, it says right here, the SD40-2 uses a Loksound V4.0 decoder. As of the -9 run in early 2019, all ScaleTrains locomotives are now going to be equipped with the Loksound V5 decoders. So this manual is technically out of date for this locomotive, because it even talks about the CV48 for the horn and bell changes, and that is actually incorrect now, because the Loksound 5 doesn't even use CV48 to change the horn and bell. I believe it's CV163 to change the horn, and I believe it's CV164 to change the bell. But I'm not looking at my -9 manual right now, so I can't tell you that for sure. Maybe I'll add it later in this video. And then I'll show you on this page the function buttons and sound slot chart, especially for those who use the Loc programmer like me, and want to look back and see how the function is and the function mapping is set up. For me, this is extremely important, especially if you're using a Loc programmer, because eventually when I get done with this review, I'm going to change some of the functions and whatnot, and then Digitrax CV programming for CVs over 255. And then if you flip to this part of the manual, it'll show you some instructions and a warranty. And if you have any questions or concerns about this locomotive, you can contact ScaleTrains at support@scaletrains.com or the toll-free line. and that's the manual itself. Now here is the foam protecting, and now the locomotive sits inside this nice foam protecting, and now I'm going to take this two-piece cradle off. ScaleTrains does include these extra rotating bearing caps, since these SD40-3s do have rotating bearing caps. Very few SD40-2s have rotating bearing caps, but they're getting more and more common on locomotives that have been getting rebuilt or modernized. So I'm going to take this off, some more protecting stuff. I want to slide this out of the way. Now they have these two truck clips on each end of the locomotive. Take that off and take that off. And now you can take the foam inserts on each end and there should be one more on this end. Okay. So there you have it. That is the unboxing of the ScaleTrains SD40-3 SpongeBob Square Cab boxcar logo SD40-3. So before I go over any of the details and sounds of the locomotive, I am going to perform two tests. One of them is the coupler height, and then I want to check the wheel gauges on the locomotive. So I am using the KD number 206 coupler height gauge with a 158 scale knuckle coupler on this. Eventually I'm going to be putting KD scale whisker couplers on these, but they do have ScaleTrains metal knuckle couplers out of the factory on these locomotives. So going up to the front of the you be the judge. Looks to me low on the front of the locomotive, and I'm gonna move this to the back just to make things easier. It looks to me it's maybe a smudge low on the rear of the locomotive, but if you ask me, that is extremely close to call, so I'm going to call that good enough on the rear. And on the front, I am going to call that low. So that's the coupler height gauge. So now I got the NMRA standards gauge, and I'm now just going to check wheels to see if they are in gauge or not. Dead on for me. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys some of the details on this new CSX SD40-3. So the biggest spotting feature about the SD40-3 rebuilds from CSX compared to most SD40-2s is the unique new cab that was built by NRE right around 2010 when CSX started this rebuild program. And it's a cab that what we like to call the SpongeBob Square Cab. And of course it has the CSX modernized boxcar logo on the nose. Along with this, you got a nose mounted headlight as opposed to a cab mounted headlight on the regular EMD cabs. You got front ditch lights along with the new anti-climber with this rebuild. Down below, you got your typical MU hoses, air hose, die-cast knuckle coupler from ScaleTrains, uncoupling levers, MU receptacle, again the new anti-climber along with the ditch lights. There are rear ditch lights as well on this locomotive. Going to the trucks, as you may see, there's rotating bearing caps on all the trucks, here and here, and that is on each truck, conductor and engineer's side. Going to the side, we have the fuel tank. So, also to note, there are sanding lines on the front and rear of the trucks. Right here, hidden on each end of the locomotive as well. They do have 4,000 gallon fuel tanks on these CSX rebuilds. Along with that, you got a electronic bell and a digital fuel gauge, instead of a traditional one with a pointer going from F to E. It'll tell you how many gallons you have right on the dot with the digital. You got the air tanks mounted right up above the fuel tank. Moving to the back of the locomotive, you got rear number boards that light up. Front number boards are pretty tiny. You got the electric handbrake in the back, mounted right behind the long hood. You also got rear ditch lights, along with uncoupling levers, MU hoses, air hoses, and your coupler and coupler knuckle holders in case the knuckle breaks. On the top of the locomotive, the two sets of long antennas, those are the PTC antennas that CSX uses on all other locomotives. In my opinion, you can't really tell the PTC antennas unless you're a super freak like I am, or other CSX fans that can easily tell that they're PTC antennas. But yeah, those are PTC antennas in the rear. And then in the back, there's the silenced exhaust turbocharger. As some of you may know, before 1980, they didn't have the silenced exhaust turbocharger. And anything built 1980 on has the silenced exhaust, so then the turbocharger doesn't sound as loud as other EMD locomotives. In fact, the silenced exhaust is pretty much the new standard on all EMD locomotives from 1980 on. You also got dynamic brake fans and radiator fans in the back, both see-through. And then on the top is the Nathan K5 LAR 2.4 horn. And you can tell it's a 2.4 because this is typically the one right here, the largest bell of the horns. And the second biggest is a 2, and that's that. 3, 4, and then 5 is hidden on the other side of the camera here. But it is a K5 LAR 2.4. The only thing is that the prototype horn, the 2.4 is actually on the opposite end of the horn. But I'm not going to be too nitpicky about it, but that's just my 2 cents on the horn. So anyways, let's fire up the DCC system and test out the lighting and sound functions of the Loksound 5 decoder. Alright, so I just turned track power on with my Digitrax Zephyr Extra DCC system with my DT402 throttle plugged in. Now I'm going to start the locomotive up with function 8, and again this is a ESU Loksound 5 decoder, not a V4.0 like it says on the manual. So that's the startup sequence on the Loksound 5 decoder. F0 turns on the headlight. As you saw earlier, the number boards came on with function 8, the startup sequence. Function 1 is the bell. F2 is the horn. Function 3 is the coupler crash. Function 4 is the dynamic brakes. I'll show you that when I'm moving a little later. Function 5 does nothing for us. Function 6 turns on the ditch lights. And I'll blow the horn just so you can see a flash. Function 9 is the drive hold. So that was function 9, the drive hold feature. Function 10 is the independent brake. Function 7, I didn't mention this earlier, is for auxiliaries 9 and 10, which are beacons, but we don't have a beacon on this locomotive, so that's not going to matter to us. Function 11 is the radiator. Function 12 is the dimmer. It dims the headlight and turns off the ditch lights like the prototype. Function 13 is the slow spitter valve. Function 14 and 15 are not in use. Function 16 is the spitter at shutdown. Function 17 is the brake set and release. Function 18 is the sanding valve. Function 19 is the short air let off. And function 20 is the compressor. You probably heard that a couple of times on its own. So I'm now going to move the locomotive forward at speed step 1, and I'm going to turn on function 4, the dynamic brakes. Now we have the locomotive in reverse. And okay, seems like it's a little out of focus, but maybe not. I'm going to blow the horn in the reverse direction. I'm going to move in reverse. I'm going to watch those rotating bearing caps as they move. May not see them good in this light, but they do move. So now I'm going to shut off the locomotive with function 8 and see what it's like on the shutdown. Alright, so let's wrap this review up. So there you have it. That is my review and my take on the new ScaleTrains River Counter SD40-3 run CSX SpongeBob cab with the boxcar logo with the Loksound 5 decoder. I will say that this is a good locomotive. This is my first CSX locomotive added to my locomotive roster fleet, and I really like it. There was nothing broken or missing out of the box. Everything was there as is. Good shipping from ScaleTrains if you buy direct from them or pre-order through them. Got mine. Pre-order came in Wednesday, paid it then, or no, maybe it was Tuesday. Yeah, I paid Tuesday. Shipped out Wednesday. Got it today, Friday. So very good service from ScaleTrains. If you do order any SD40-2, whether it's an NS, CSX, BN, or Milwaukee Road, if you didn't put in a pre-order yet, I would suggest either contacting ScaleTrains for one or going to any select retailer. Select retailers I'd recommend. Engine House Services out of Green Bay, that's my local hobby shop. Hiawatha Hobbies is another one. Tim Swenton of Main Model Works, definitely trust him. Or Spring Creek Model Trains, or Lombard Hobbies. Those are 5 dealers I have dealt with in the past. Not just necessarily ScaleTrains products, but anything in general. And those 5 are ScaleTrains dealers. So if you want to pick up a locomotive SD40-2 from their 4th run, with or without the Loksound decoder, I'd do it. So anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.